He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, a franchise that's existed for decades and recently has seen quite the resurgence. You've even got Kevin Smith on board voice acting for a current Netflix series. Netflix especially is trying their hands on it, but back in the 1980s, it was all the rage for a little while until it started to wane. I mean, this was a heck of an era of animated shows. You had G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, just to name a few, and the list went on and on. This was, frankly, a renaissance of its own when it came to animated shows, and they really wanted to get He-Man off the ground. The original one ran for 2 seasons and then was replaced by She-Ra, which ended up running for about 90 episodes and 2 seasons of its own, but ultimately getting canceled. Now, cartoons being adapted into live-action movies and shows isn't really that new these days, but back then, they usually waited a little while before they tried to wring a little extra money out of the property. Transformers waited a few decades, as did G.I. Joe, but there was one that didn't even make it out of the 1980s before it received a live-action movie of its own. And with that, I bring you 1987's Masters of the Universe. That glorious MGM lion. Now, when you see that popping up right at the beginning, you never know what you're going to get. Because back in this era, they were really an ambitious company. I mean, in 1994, we were graced with Kurt Russell's Stargate movie, also starring James Spader. So, who knows? This could be good. This could also be awful. We're greeted to a glorious PowerPoint-style opening credits bit, where they say the associated companies involved with making this movie. Then, we get a beautiful shot of Castle Grayskull, which, by the way, I would just let the bad guys have. I'm not gonna lie. I know that this is generally how it looks, and not being the most knowledgeable of the He-Man franchise, I was actually unaware that the good guys kind of reside here. It's a little odd to me. It's a skull, and now it's a castle. I don't know. Maybe let Skeletor have the dang thing. And then we're greeted to just such a 1980s credits intro bit. It needed synth music. It didn't have that. It had some other kind of music, but it really grasped the fact that this is the 1980s, and you're getting a live-action adaptation of a franchise that has been waning for years. After the credits finish rolling, we are given a very much Star Wars-esque march. Now, the Imperial March is not actually strictly its own thing. It's actually based on a classical style song from the early 1900s. I swear I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but Gustav Holst was the composer, and he created the song that he dubbed Mars, the Bringer of War. In marches Skeletor as the music is blaring. He's hitting his staff as he's walking. I don't know if it's because he's old and just can't walk too well, or if he thinks that it's really imposing. But either way, I actually thought that this scene was pretty dang cool. And then Skeletor turns around and, oh my gosh!
People of Eternia!
This thing had a $22 million budget. Now, adjusted for inflation, that's probably about $60 million today. It's not the greatest in the world, but man, I really feel like they could have just done something else here. Anyways, Skeletor, he declares himself the ruler of Eternia, despite the fact that He-Man's still running around. In fact, the sorceress even lets him know, but he doesn't care. He tells Evelyn, yeah, her name is Evelyn, and it actually is spelled evil hyphen Lynn. It's brilliant, honestly. Some of the names in this are absolutely brilliant. But in any case, he lets everyone in the world know that he is now the ruler of Eternia. And one person that witnesses this hologram is He-Man himself, who promptly goes around a corner and enters into the first major fighting sequence of the movie. And this thing is glorious. It's spectacular, honestly. Who needs good choreography when you could just zoom in so far that one scene is quite literally just Dolph Lundgren's chest?
Very nice.
By the way, Dolph Lundgren? That's a great casting choice. And actually, it kind of makes me wonder if this is an explanation as to why the movie came out a couple years later than it should have. So He-Man has been super popular, right? Well, we should make a live action movie. A live action movie of a cartoon? That would never work. Hear me out. We get Dolph Lundgren to play He-Man. Dolph Lundgren? He glistens when he's shirtless, but I'm pretty sure he's working on that Rocky movie. Fine, we'll table it for now. Let's just make a spin-off cartoon. Alright, She-Ra didn't work. Is Dolph available now? I think so. And I can't find a reason why we shouldn't put $22 million on a line for a live-action adaptation of a show that's been failing in popularity for years. Let's do this! It's in this scene that we're also introduced to Teela, Man-at-Arms, and the scientist Gwildor. We also get a tiny bit of exposition, including this line.
They were everywhere. Chaos.
Someone betrayed us.
Foreshadowing, mayhaps? I guess we're gonna have to find out. Anyway, they go to a secret hideout, which isn't really secret at all because they're immediately followed by the bad guys. They manage to get through it and end up directly underneath Castle Grayskull, which, by the way, a little convenient that they just can get there. They go into the throne room, which is very obviously a trap. They even state that it's a trap. So, being logical and sound warriors that are experienced and adept at battle, they stick together huddled in one single group, one big target, rather than spreading themselves out even remotely. What happens next will shock you. They get surrounded because it was a trap.
What?
Masters of the universe? More like idiots of the universe. Am I right, guys?
Oh, that was bad. I make that joke at least 2 more times in this video. Oh no.
They totally would have been screwed if not for the fact that Gwildor, the locksmith, happened to have another key with him, which I guess opens up portals. A bit of knowledge that's brought to us by Evelyn, who lets Skeletor know that a second key is there. Skeletor demands that they just be killed immediately, and it doesn't really work out. Not only do they get out, but they manage to escape with the key. But instead of just having the key in their hand, it's grappled through the portal. Coming through the portal, the key is gone.
Where is the key?
But they don't have time to worry about it because a massive source of energy is fast approaching.
Alien life form. Big.
Let me blast it.
Wait. It might be intelligent life.
By the sorceress, it's ugly.
Around the corner rounds a cow.
What a hideous cry.
And they make a little bit of jokes here and there. You come to find out that He-Man and the Masters of the Universe are just a bunch of jokesters, man. They're the funniest dudes. Masters of the Universe, more like jokesters of the universe, am I right? Gwildor even thinks that he can communicate with the cow.
Maybe I can communicate with the poor creature.
Gwildor.
Moo.
Gwildor.
Moo. Moo. Moo.
Gwildor.
I'm going. Moo.
What did you just say to me, you little prick?
Oh, Man-at-Arms also makes a snide remark talking about how it would be absolutely foolish to try and charge at the throne room because it would be an obvious trap.
Sure, we'll drop right into the throne room. Fight off 2,000 or 3,000 of Skeletor's crack troops, break into the force field, and free the sorceress.
Right.
Irony, guys. They get back to needing to find the key and decide to fan out a little bit. Then we're introduced to a diner. We're on Earth?
Very last time.
Wait,
Don't worry, Julie.
Wait a second.
They got fast food in Jersey.
I see your problem, why you need to shake that salt shaker excessively there. There's no salt in the shaker. You need to refill the salt shaker. Do your job. Meet Julie, who, by the way, is played by Courtney Cox. Now, a lot of people might speculate that Friends was her big break, but I disagree. It's Masters of the Universe. Hands down. Next, we get to see a couple people making out in the car, but we're not the only ones witnessing this. The gang's all here except for He-Man, and they're having a good old time watching people make out.
We must find the key.
We're not gonna save Eternia if we die of starvation.
Wait,
I was doing that before you were even born.
Not the natives, Father. They're in the bushes.
And things get a little weird when Gwildor starts smacking his lips. Oh, thank goodness. Dude just wanted some fried chicken there. I was getting a little worried, but it's nice to see the gang kicking back, relaxing, and enjoying some chicken in the bushes right by the car that they stole it from, rather than, searching for the key to get back to Eternia and save the universe. Then we get a little bit of plot development with Julie. We come to find out her parents are dead, and that really sucks. They died in a plane crash, and according to her, the only reason they were on the plane was because she decided to delay them or something. I'm not sure. She blames herself for it, but she also kind of blames her boyfriend, which just kind of sucks. We get to see Kevin here holding her and, telling her that it's not her fault. And I'm wondering what's going on in his head as she's telling him, yeah, no, the only reason why they were on that plane was because I wanted to spend more time with you. A little weird.
We were all supposed to go to the beach that day. But I said I had to study because I wanted to spend the day with you.
But that's not the main focus of this scene, because as they're leaving the cemetery, they find a small crater, and in it is Gwildor's key, which Kevin immediately says is some sort of Japanese synth device.
No, this is one of those new Japanese synthesizers.
It's not a Japanese synth device, Kevin. It's alien space tech. It's not going to be even remotely like that.
Here, let me try it.
We should not be encouraging Kevin. Kevin goes to a high school where he's setting up for tomorrow's gig and decides to mess around with his fancy new synth machine, pushing the red button, which gives away the location of the key to Skeletor. An elite squad of warriors is assembled by Evelyn to present to Skeletor in order to acquire the key. These are the masters of their own right and the ugliest things that you will ever see.
Blade. Sarad. The Beast Man. And Karg.
They make it very clear to you, these are the baddie bads, okay? Because their mothers hated them. There's no way that they had a face that their mother could even love. They were abandoned as children and raised by Skeletor, and now they have to be evil. That's what happened. That's my headcanon. This quartet of elite warriors go to Earth in order to track down the key. Kevin recently left with it, and it can't be regularly tracked. The red button has to be pushed again. I'm sure that'll be a plot development later, but for now, they're going to the high school where it was previously at, and Julie is still there. They confront Julie, demanding to know where the key is and attempting to capture her, and oh my gosh, she gets away. Oh my gosh, guys. They are so bad at this. I can't... Just watch. But that's not all. He-Man is also just so bad at this. Oh my gosh. They all get away. All four of them get away. He-Man chucked a sword at one of their faces and missed it by an inch. I feel like he did it on purpose just to block her. Why didn't he just kill it? Well, he's fine with killing people. He's killed plenty of people in this movie.
Our only hope of defeating Skeletor is to find the cosmic key. Now those creatures were after you for a reason, Julie. Have you seen it? It's this large. It has lights on it.
Wait a minute, I have seen that.
I need the key. Have you seen it? It's this big and it makes noise. Oh, that key, since you put it that way. Man, it looks like He-Man and the gang are going to need a ride. Luckily for them, Gwildor shows up. He stopped eating fried chicken just long enough to completely retrofit an American car with alien tech, including changing the entire fuel system of it. He did all of this in 4 hours. He's brilliant. Skeletor's squad gave up after one attempt, and they go back to him knowing full well that he'll probably just kill them all. Now, he does decide to make an example out of one of them, and I figured from the start maybe he was going eeny, meeny, miny, mo, but then I think he decided, you know what, I think the lizard one over there isn't quite as ugly as me, so I'm going to do away with him. But then he pushes Evelyn in order to take that lizard person's place and says, go get the key for real this time, guys? Can you just... come on? Kevin, having caught wind of what was going on at the high school and decided to leave his friend Charlie's music shop in order to investigate it, runs into Detective Lubbock, who's investigating the situation.
The only stuff we found in there was right there. God, that's Julie's. Where'd you find this? Where do you think we found it? Listen, we got vandalism, arson, we got a lot of bad stuff going on around here, kid. What do you know about it? Look,
This man's tough, a hardened veteran that was in the Korean War that is now a detective in this town and isn't putting up with anyone's sass. These witty little teenagers aren't going to pull a fast one on him. He drags Kevin over to his house and immediately starts smoking inside of it. It's the 80s, man. I guess the detectives can just smoke wherever the heck they want. This time, it's Detective Lubbock that pushes a button on the key. He's fascinated by this thing, and it gives away the location to Skeletor's forces. However, then Kevin pops in some more fried chicken right into the microwave, and you come to find out, it's a jamming signal. Does this play a part later in the movie? No, absolutely not, but it does give us this fun little scene where Evelyn tells one of the unnamed people to stop the signal from happening.
Locate the source of the jamming and destroy it.
It's difficult, like nothing I've seen before.
Destroy it now.
And he just pushes one button on it, and then suddenly the microwave explodes. That's some pretty advanced technology. I'm not sure how they didn't weaponize it further. But enough of that. The detective is done with Kevin's crap. He decides to take his fancy little synthesizer and head out of there. Completely just stealing from Kevin, smoking in his house? Man, this is not his day. And it's about to get even worse because Evelyn comes bursting in with the forces and proceeds to just kind of torture him. Oh, they even wreck his house, too. Like, they put the collar on him, and he instantly just has to tell the truth on everything. But they just ransacked the whole place anyway, giving it the full SWAT treatment. Come on. Evelyn and the others roll out, but He-Man is fast on the trail with their new whip. They show up to Kevin's house just in time to save him from that collar. He immediately jumps to his feet and is understandably scared. He picks up a chair to try and defend himself, and it's shot out of his hand by Man-at-Arms. The dude just terrifies him, and then a good old comic relief Gwildor just rolls up. He's completely changed his wardrobe with stuff in Kevin's house, and he's looking fly.
Look! Native clothing. Lots of it, all over the place. If we dress like this, no one will recognize us.
What the hell is that?
Man, they really are just the jokesters of the universe, right? Anyway, they catch a nice break because Detective Lubbock just wants to go to the exact same place that Kevin did to try and figure out what the synthesizer is. They find him conveniently at the music shop. They confront Detective Lubbock and secure the key from him, and begin the arduous task of finding their way back to Eternia. However, they see a trap coming from a mile away, and doing what they do best, decide to not really prepare for it whatsoever. They stay completely encompassed within the building instead of trying to gain any high ground or anything like that. They just man up positions right inside of the storefront, and thank goodness Skeletor's forces decided to be super fair about it and only attack from one single direction. Man-at-Arms and He-Man guard the front while Teela takes the rest of them to the back while they wait for the key to be activated. The detective is not very happy, but it doesn't matter. He's disarmed. Things start to get increasingly intense up front, and the detective brings up a good point that Teela needs to get up there and help. She gives the gun to Kevin and tells him not to let the detective take it back, and then she heads up front. And about 10 seconds later, the gun struggle begins because the detective managed to close the gap with relative ease. But Julie's a little distracted. What is that? Julie? Julie, what are you doing? Julie, that's not your mom.
All right,
Quildo, you need anything? Give me that thing! Hey! Kevin, stop!
Julie, your boyfriend's in a gun struggle with a disgruntled detective that clearly hates him.
Watch that gun! Come on, you're gonna get hurt!
Julie, you're leaving the building? Are you kidding me, Julie? Gwildor secures the gun from both of them and fires off a random shot, letting them know that he's the one that's armed with it now, and tells them that they're being foolish. He's trying to get that portal activated. Why are they bickering amongst each other? Julie comes back in and secures the key for her mom because her mommy wants it, and that makes all the sense in the world to her.
Thank you, my darling.
And of course it's not actually her mom. Would we have expected anything else? Of course it was Evelyn disguised as her mom, and now the key's gone, because Julie gave away the key to her mom that she knew full well died a year ago. I'm just gonna come out and say this, everyone. I don't like Julie. I don't like her. Also, Charlie will never financially recover from this.
Oh my god. My store!
Skeletor comes to Earth. Why though? I don't know. I don't know why Skeletor comes to Earth, but he does, and there's some Green Goblin looking dudes just rolling around trying to track down He-Man and the others. And they seem to be almost terrified by it, even though one of them gets immediately shot down and there's only one more flying around that's found them. They're frantically trying to get inside of a building and escape when, again, they immediately killed one of them and there's only one left to worry about. He-Man manages to kill the second one, and then he decides to take his 15 minutes of Green Goblin time and hop onto the hoverboard himself. He goes on a purge, just an absolute decimation of all these Green Goblin imposters while his friends fall for an actual trap that they didn't see coming for once. He-Man also manages to secure the key, but the bloodthirst is upon him. He can't stop. Instead of immediately heading back to his friends before they fall for the trap, he just keeps going. He-Man fails, however. One final Green Goblin imposter remains and successfully leads him directly into Skeletor's trap. Upon being defeated in a short battle, he agrees to go back with Skeletor to Eternia as his slave, with the agreement being that his friends manage to survive. They're left on Earth to their own devices. However, this entire time, the detective has been rolling around trying to find them, which, by the way, I'm not entirely sure how he hasn't managed to. They've been flying around this entire time, actually in the sky. Their presence is very well known, but what's even funnier about this is the cops don't believe him. They're all making fun of him and telling him, "No, you idiot, you just need to get some sleep or something. You're obviously hallucinating." And he could just show them the store where some of Skeletor's corpses are just at.
This place, look at those guys. My store.
The completely decimated store that he had just been at when he called for backup. He could just go there and do that, but for some reason he doesn't, and no one believes him. Speaking of people not seeing things, I have seen almost no one in this movie. Aside from, like, supporting characters and, Skeletor's forces and stuff like that, I've seen, no background characters at all. There's no one in this freaking town. As soon as things go down, there is no one anywhere. No evacuation or anything. There's just nobody anywhere at all. It's super weird. Our heroes are downtrodden. He-Man has been taken back by Skeletor to finally die. And they're trapped on Earth. There's nothing that they can do. They don't have a second key. And even if Gwildor could construct a second one, which he absolutely can, he doesn't know how to do it on Earth. Until about 5 minutes into them being sad, when Kevin manages to crack the code. The secret to the power was music all along.
Wait a minute. I've got it.
That's it.
Gwildor starts constructing the new key and lets them know that he'll have it done in one preton. Now, what are we doing here? All right, so at the beginning of the movie, give them the benefit of the doubt. Because they're not on Earth, and you're thinking, okay, sure, where they're speaking English, but they're going to throw in these cute words here and there and all that jazz. But then, 10 minutes into the movie, they are on Earth. And so then you find out that they're all just speaking English, conveniently, which I'll give the benefit of the doubt for that every time. No problem. But don't throw in, these little bits here where you're just like, oh, okay, except instead of saying minute, I'm going to say Preton. We're going to just do that. Swap those words around a little bit. Because then you're kind of like making it seem like they're on a completely different planet and somehow their language just ended up being English, except when they say things that are related to time, it's just not. It's gibberish. At Castle Grayskull, Skeletor gives a triumphant speech as the eye opens up and he receives the power of Grayskull. And he gets a new wardrobe change as well. I'm not going to lie. Shoddy looks fire. I mean, there's a lot of gold on that sucker, and anything that covers up more of his face is something I'm absolutely down with. With the glorious power of music, they construct a new key, one that can take them to Eternia and stop the execution of He-Man. However, the detective is onto them. Detective Lubbock finds them and charges at them by himself, while all the other cops sit back, and he wants all the glory for himself. So he gets whisked away in the teleportation and ends up in the throne room in Eternia's Castle Grayskull. Detective Lubbock activates the infinite ammo glitch on his pump-action shotgun and the fight really begins, and it's intense. Everything's going on back and forth, people shooting at each other, everything's going nuts. Somehow, He-Man doesn't immediately die in the crossfire because the god-powered Skeletor didn't think to just immediately kill him on the spot.
You promised not to hurt them! I lied.
I feel like I heard that before.
You agreed to stay away! Lied.
He manages to regain his sword, and a 1v1 me bro battle begins.
You will no longer stand between me and my destiny.
But I will. I told you it was always between us.
Evelyn decided to retreat all of Skeletor's forces, and everybody that was on He-Man's side just kind of disappeared too. So then it was just the two of them. An epic struggle to the death, and He-Man comes out victorious, but decides he was gonna spare Skeletor. But to no avail! Skeletor busts out a completely secret and hidden sword and manages to disarm He-Man briefly. But he loses the high ground very quickly and ends up expelled down a rather large and seemingly endless shaft that is just randomly in the castle. Where have I seen that before? With the forces of evil in retreat, the good guys have won. The sorceress is restored to her throne in all of her full glory, and they decide to give a nice little send-off to everybody going back to Earth. But Detective Lubbock's not doing that. After all the cops were being mean to him, not believing him, he decided to get a nice little girlfriend over in Eternia and just stick around there. Now, that only leaves two people that are going back to Earth, Kevin and Julie. They give Julie a heartfelt goodbye, practically tears in all their eyes. Everybody speaks to her, one at a time. And why? I ask you, what did Julie do? Kevin's the hero of this story. The only words that anyone says to Kevin are, "Now you keep an eye on her, right?" That's it. That's all he gets. It's like when Chewbacca doesn't get that medal at the end of Star Wars Episode 4. They just did him dirty for no reason. Kevin's the hero of the story. He discovered the power of music. Julie gave the key to Evelyn. It just makes no sense. But anyway, as they're about to leave, Gwildor lets them know, hey, I can also let you time travel too. Because the key can make you time travel. That's been a thing this whole time. And why didn't Skeletor just time travel with his key? Why didn't He-Man and them time travel with their... What is going on? That little bit just thrown in the end. It just doesn't feel right. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why they threw that in at the very end. It makes absolutely no sense. And of course it leads to a paradox. What else would it do, possibly? They're in the one universe, and they just traveled back in time because, of course, she wanted to save her parents. And that's exactly what she does. She goes back in time, saves her parents, which in turn just completely undoes the events that led her to going back in time. But I guess it's all fine. In any case, like any normal person, she's in her PJs and decides to just sprint out of the house and start her day. She runs into Kevin, and that's the end of the movie. Or so you think, because there's a post-credit scene.
I'll be back.
No, you won't. this movie spectacularly failed. It had a $22 million budget and ended up pulling in $17.3 million. Now that's the movie. And I'm kind of sad because I actually would have liked to see a second one. Don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure they didn't have any plans to actually answer any of the little plot holes or unanswered questions that they threw into this one. Like when Tilo was so positive that someone betrayed them, but that was never explored again. And then the microwave being able to jam the signal that lets them track the key. No, never answer that one again. That's fine. We don't need to answer any of that. I would have just liked to see another 80s live action adaptation. There's something special about them. Okay? They're not great by any means, but they're just different from the live action adaptations that we get today. Because now they're everywhere. But back then, that was bold. It was bold. But you made it to the end, everyone. Please leave a like and subscribe. I've got more deep dives coming, and I already have one on my channel talking about the miniseries of Battlestar Galactica. It's funny stuff. Guys, I'm funny, I swear. If you think that this video's funny, which I would certainly hope you do if you watched all the way to the end of this dang thing, then prepare yourselves because there's so much more to come. Leave that like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all of you. Goodbye.